Hello everyone, John here again. I would like to talk today about post-traumatic stress disorder and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, post-traumatic stress disorder is the trauma after a single event, whether it be a divorce, a death in the family, etc. A complex post-traumatic stress disorder is the result of multiple traumas in your lifetime. Now, I do suffer from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It started as a child. My mother being a narcissist, I was brought up with the wrong type of thinking. I was very shy. I was afraid of everybody, afraid of things, just totally messed up. And then as I did grow up, I did have other events of PTSD from different relationships I'd been in, and these all accumulate over time. And I wasn't understanding of what the emotional and mental problem I was dealing with, because I wasn't aware that I did grow up in a dysfunctional family, and I did have the wrong type of thinking, and I had engaged with narcissists throughout my lifetime, and this is an accumulation of traumas I had experienced. And the further on you go in traumas, the worse it does get. I had gone through one period of time where I was traumatized for about 5 years, a little more than 5 years I would say, and I was so dysfunctional I wasn't able to communicate with anybody. I couldn't put a sentence together properly. And this is quite common from what I see from other people who have gotten out of relationships with narcissists, and multiple narcissists. With a lot of them, they do end up with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is a very serious matter. Like, there is nothing physically evident about being traumatized in this state, but there's so many people are in this state, they're not capable of functioning properly. They're not capable of holding down a full-time job. I'd gone through a stage when I had to resort to the welfare system, and of course, they were trying to push me to find employment someplace, but I wasn't capable of working. For one thing, I couldn't communicate with anybody, and I had gone for almost 2 years in this welfare system, and I wasn't able to ask for help that I needed because I was too dysfunctional in my mental capacity. I could not explicitly ask for the assistance I need. But close to 2 years later, I did obtain disability for my mental state. But there's so many people don't understand this. Now, you out there that are going through PTSD and CPTSD, you know how debilitating it is. You know how terrible of an existence this is. And people can't see it because it's not something visible. Like if you had a broken leg and you had a cast on it, well, there'd be something you could show for it. But when it's a mental problem, when it is a multitude of traumas that you've gone through in your lifetime, there is just no way of showing it. Putting a Band-Aid around your head isn't going to help either. they probably think that you're crazy in the first place. And I understand you people out there going through this. You aren't able to function properly. And people you know and people you meet, they just don't understand the severity of complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It is a very serious situation. Now, in most cases, from what I understand, a person that has gone through many traumatic events in their lifetime, they never revert out of it. They stay in a state of trauma continually. But I did not understand myself that I was in a state of complex PTSD until a couple of years ago when I did discover narcissism. And I then realized that I had been married to a narcissist and a couple prior to that, and that my mother was a narcissist, and I had been friends with many different narcissists during my growing up years. And this trauma that you're experiencing, this post-traumatic stress that you're experiencing is something that if you don't understand what it is, and nobody else will, people will maybe talk about you or put you down because they just say, well, there's something wrong with you, but you have to understand yourself. When you are living in a state of post-traumatic stress disorder, once you become aware that this is what the mental illness is, then you have something to work on. Now, there are meditation sites on YouTube which will help people overcome this. And in most cases, people that don't have the money to pay a psychologist to do therapy from a professional, well, you don't have much of a choice. Now, we're kind of left out of this. I'm in Canada, and there is free medical care, and it covers most things, but when it comes to a mental problem, you have to basically prove this yourself to the right professional before there is even a chance of assistance. And when you are debilitated mentally and you do have PTSD, you may not understand what it is. I didn't understand what I was going through. I didn't understand the strange thinking, the phobias, and there's also the physical effects of PTSD on you. And it wasn't until I understood that this was an accumulation of living with narcissists and being acquainted with several narcissists over the years, and this resulted in the state of mind I was in. Now, being aware of what the mental disorder is that you have, that's the big step right there. I didn't know that it was complex post-traumatic stress disorder that I did have, but once I did realize that this was the problem with my thinking and my relationships in this world, I've got something to work on now. And I know there's a lot of you out there, you're going through the same type of thing, you're going through CPTSD, and it is not a nice thing at all. And there's so many people out there, they just don't understand it. But we that are going through this, we understand this. And us in our group of victims of narcissism and psychopaths, we understand ourselves. And we are blessed today that there is a an internet system that we can all join together as a group, and that we can help each other through our troubles. And I thank you anyways for listening today, and I hope I've been a benefit to some people out there. And I thank you for listening. Subscribe if you haven't, and I'll speak to you on the next video. And I thank you for listening.